welcome to the Holistic Living, Learning, and Loving podcast, where we are bringing you back to the basics.
We explore sustainable living and holistic health and strive for progress, not perfection.
So please join us on a wellness journey and feel empowered to make positive changes in your life. Hey guys, thank you so much for joining us today. We really enjoyed our last podcast together. It was really heartwarming, really raw. If you missed it, please go back and check out our story. It was a really good one and kind of cathartic, I think, for me. I'm sure it was cathartic for you as well. So we are really happy you're here. Again, please please subscribe to our channel on YouTube. Please come to our Facebook, interact with us. We would love to have open discussions about this stuff, lead you guys in a direction if you are looking for anything in particular. So like yesterday I had a conversation with another mom at gymnastics, and she was talking about homeschool and kind of had these like couple questions about stuff. Like you could tell she was curious, you know? So I was like, oh, hey, you should check out our podcast, because we kind of like broad level, like talk about all this stuff, Yeah. So it's great. And I sent her a whole bunch of resources that I have, because, we do tons of research about stuff. So, all right. So, there's so much stuff that we talk about. So much stuff in our world comes out to be toxic or not good for us in some way. And there's just a never ending supply of content, unfortunately, for our podcast. Unfortunately, because I don't want to be like, oh, hey, by the way, don't forget about this thing, But that just is how it is. So today we are going to talk about clothing and fabrics and shoes and things like that. And you might be wondering, what the hell could be possibly wrong with clothing? Well, buckle up, Buttercup, because this is going to be like an hour-long discussion about how fucked up our clothes are.
The joys. Another thing that we have to change.
Yes, so let's add this to the list. But we're going to talk about what's bad about clothing, why we're concerned, and then we're going to talk about how to navigate the problem. Okay, we're not just going to leave you in a lurch like, oh, okay, now what? All right, so my first note is about dyes. So I really didn't think much about dyes until, I don't know, not that long back, maybe like a year ago. I started kind of getting on my radar, I think.
I never really thought much. Well, I mean, as far as dyes in our food, but as far as dyes in clothes, I didn't really think much about it until maybe the last year when I started looking into all this.
Yeah, well, I guess I used to, whenever I used to buy clothes when I was younger, even up until probably 5 years ago, I would always wear it straight away. I would never wash it, ever.
Oh, yeah, I know. I was thinking about that just the other day.
And I've had jeans in the past that have turned my legs blue, because they were, even after I washed them, there was just I don't know, so much dye in there. It was just coming off everywhere, coming off on my car seat and stuff, Mm-hmm. So yeah, shame on me, because over 90% of clothing use synthetic dyes, and there's different types of dyes. I was researching this today. And one of the worst ones is called azo dyes, or AZO. I'm not sure how you're supposed to say it. But those are super vivid colors. They are known as carcinogens, and they're banned in Europe, of course, not here. But some things about dyes are that they can irritate skin, cause respiratory illness, endocrine disruptions, polluting water. I was looking up.
I'm sorry.
No, you go, please talk.
A lot of other countries, they don't have any regulations on this stuff, so they're just pouring it in the water along with many other chemicals, and that's polluting the water, going into the fish that they eat, and just so many other things. And they're forever chemicals, right?
Yeah, and I was reading up on this when I was looking into dyes, and China, I think they said 70% of their water sources are polluted. Yeah. Because of all the industry in their country, they're making all of our junk and everybody else's junk.
Right.
And then from the textile clothing manufacturing, when you think of, especially lately, the fast fashion movement,
that's what I was about to say.
Is there's just so much textiles churning, dyeing, and when you dye, you use lots of water, and you have to use water after dyeing to rinse out the dye. And so it's just tons of water pollution out there with this stuff.
And yeah, and like speaking on the fast fashion, it's like in this regard, like we really need to have a culture shift. I think
Yes.
like a lot of us, like you'll see the memes on Facebook where they're like, somebody compliments your clothes and you're like, girl, Sheen, you know,
Yeah.
$2 or whatever, and like we brag about it, and that's cool and all, but it's not cool. Like so it's like people are getting to where they only wear something, you know, you only have to wear this one time because you can get stuff so cheap. That's great for your pocketbook, but not for the world. And I mean, we really have to start caring. Yeah, you might not see the effects of this right away, like, you know, right in front of your face, but it's polluting the water.
Yeah.
You know, it's polluting that's going to get to you one
Some
way or
way.
the other. It's
Oh,
going to
yeah.
get to the fish in the ocean that we eat, we consume. It all goes down the line, and it's all of our planet is just like going through hell from us.
Oh my
Like
God.
in
Every
every
which way.
direction. Yeah, like we have to start caring at some point, especially if we have or what about our children and grandchildren? Like what kind of world are they going to inherit? All because, you know, and these are simple things we can change. We could just stop buying fast fashion
Yeah.
clothing and these synthetic fibers, and just like from that, all I do now is I buy solid color cotton, or like mostly cotton I do, but you know, you have cotton, linen, wool, and silk. That's your natural fibers. But I buy like just solid color t-shirts or tanks, denim or cotton shorts and pants, and you can just mix and match that stuff so much, and it's just simple.
Well, also, like, you know, going backwards about fast fashion and it being so cheap, it's really not cheap because, well, for several reasons, but because you're buying more of it.
Yeah.
Like, you're not just like buying your essentials and being like, okay, I have my clothing, I'm done for the day or done for the couple months or the quarter or whatever, you know, like you're constantly always on it and like always looking for the next thing because your clothes are so outdated already or they're falling apart or whatever
Yeah.
that you're constantly buying more. So I would question if it really is cheaper in the long run than just buying your normal staples that will last you, you know,
Yeah,
like
and good
standard
quality
stuff.
too. Like you said, like that stuff is so cheap and crappy. It
Yeah,
doesn't
it's like
last
the
long at
like
all.
as soon as you buy it, like all the little edges, like the like pieces of thread are coming out, you know,
Yeah.
and then
You
it usually
wash it and
it
it gets all
smells
messy.
weird
Oh yeah.
because that's why it's so cheap. It's full of horrible polluted stuff, like
Yeah.
toxic chemicals. We're going to talk all about it. But it's not good for us. We're paying with our health. We're
Yes.
giving less money and more of our health away when we buy that stuff.
And through our skin. I mean, how many people probably have eczema or skin
Oh my
issues,
God.
and they don't even realize it's coming from the clothes we wear, as well as like other things, sure, like detergents and whatnot. But it could, for some people, very well be the clothes. You know, that a lot of these fabrics, these synthetic fabrics, are made from petroleum.
Yes, absolutely. And these dyes like very easily absorb into our skin. When you sweat, you're also like absorbing even more. You're getting it hot and really working it in your system by heating it up. So that's another way that you're really getting that in there. Even though you kind of feel like, oh, well, it's just my skin. Like nothing gets through skin, but honey, everything gets through
Yeah,
skin.
everything. I mean, we administer medicine through our skin, through lotions, through
Yes.
in our mouths, through under our tongues, you know, things like that. Like your skin absorbs. It's very absorbent, and that's what a lot of people don't realize.
So, I mean, you can get naturally derived dyes. They make it out of like plant products and proteins and bacterias and all kind of different ways that they make dyes, just like, you know, they make dyes for food too. If you can try to choose a natural dye over like a AZO, like if you're buying stuff, well, I guess it's probably kind of hard because like your normal, like, oh, so like
Well,
I guess
it's
what you have to
labeled.
do,
A lot of
yeah,
them are
but
labeled.
like I guess if it's like loft or whatever, like you would probably have to find out from them if they use that. It might be a little more complicated from like a big seller like that.
Like if it's the ones with the AZO dyes, that's not going to be labeled. That's not what I meant when I said that. But like I noticed, I went to Old Navy the other day. I think it was Old Navy, or it might have been Target. I don't know. But some clothes that use plant dyes, it'll be on the tag and it'll mention that the color may change over time because it's a natural plant dye. Like usually the ones that are using the good stuff, the natural stuff, they mention it, you know.
Yeah,
I'm sure
you're
it's
right.
not always, but yeah, you might have to do a little research and look into it. But a lot of companies are starting to do it, you know, and like that's another thing where we have to vote with our dollars and buy the stuff that we want to see, once they see that people are only buying this kind of stuff, then that's going to make them change.
Yes. Yep. So yeah, I would definitely say you need to, but at a minimum, even if you're not going to change the dyes and stuff like that, you at least want to wash your clothes before you wear them.
Yeah,
Unlike me, my dirty era, I guess.
I bought some underwear actually, and they were organic cotton from, now I don't know this company well. It popped up on Facebook, and it was actually more affordable, so I just went with it. But it's supposed to be organic cotton. But when I got it in the mail, it smelled so. Sorry, my dog just barked. It smelled so strong of chemicals.
Well, tell me, what company was it?
It was, I don't know how to say it. I want to say like Quince. It was like Quince.
I was just about to buy Mike some underwear, like some boxers from them.
Yeah, I mean, so I don't know, like, so to me, I'm like, if you're going to use organic cotton, then I'm hoping the manufacturing process of this isn't going to be covered with chemicals anyway. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's the point
so
of organic
weird.
cotton. But it smelled like nothing but chemicals. It was strong.
That is so strange.
Yeah. So that was disappointing. And it was pretty cheap. Like, like when you buy organic cotton things, like a 6-pack of underwear is usually like $60 to $70. Okay, I mean, so this was $30 for a 6-pack of thongs is what I got, and so that was really cheap.
Thong.
Yeah.
They say they use eco-friendly dyes and materials including cashmere, alpaca wool, organic cotton, organic linen, and 100% recycled polyester. So who knows?
Yeah, I knew it was organic cotton, but it's like, during the manufacturing process, what are they using?
Yeah, it's so weird. If you're gonna wear something that, like, let's say, you really want to wear this, like, bright colored, like, jersey or whatever, I don't know. But the best thing you can do is, like, protect your underlayer skin, so wear, like, an undergarment under it. I mean, of course, I'm living freaking outside of, like, in southern Louisiana, where ain't nobody gonna be wearing an undergarment today in, like, 100 degree
I don't even wear a bra anymore. Screw that. I like to just have one layer on.
I know. So, I mean, that's the suggestions. Not always practical. I have not instituted this in my life yet.
I kind of have. Like, I try to get the solid, like I have the tanks. And I like to, Pact had the tanks. It's like a 3-pack with the built-in bra, which is nice. And it's organic cotton. And then I got the underwear from them as well, the organic underwear. So it's like, at least if I'm not wearing fully organic cotton or natural fibers, I could at least have my, especially a private area, you really want that to be some organic material. They even have wool underwear. I know, but it's not, I don't think it's like what you think when you think of wool, because they don't look like that. They look like regular material.
That reminds me of a long time ago high school ex-boyfriend used to say it was hotter than 2 rabbits effing in a wool sock. So that's like always goes back to that. But that's an interesting visual. Like, I get it, but like in my mind, it's like these like really thick, fluffy panties.
I know. When I said it, I was like, I knew that's what it was gonna seem like.
Like one of those like wool like coats for winter. Some buttons.
Oh my god, that's funny.
Well, I have the Packed panties too, but that's as far as I've gotten. But I'm about to I'm gonna get some bras, because I shouldn't be wearing, like, I like these athletic, Target bras, and I shouldn't wear that. So I'm starting. Okay, listen, finally, one thing you got on me. I'm just starting this. Haven't been doing it a long time. Just getting into it. So, all right. So the next thing we're going to talk about is PFAS. So PFAS is perfluorinated and polyfluorinated alkyl substances, PFAS. These are man-made materials. I think it basically started as like Teflon pans and stuff like that. They are considered forever chemicals. They are toxic at super, super low levels. Think parts per quadrillion. Dude, like, what even is quadrillion? I'm going to have to look that up.
So, like, what does that mean? It's toxic by part... What did you just say?
Dude, this is so crazy. So
Toxic at
it's
super low
toxic.
levels,
Yeah,
parts per
so
quadrillion.
think about like lead and stuff. So the toxicity of lead, for instance, is 15 parts per billion. A billion is basically like 10 to the power of 9. If we think of 1 million, right? Million is has 6 zeros behind it. So 1 0 0 0 0 0 0, okay? A billion is the like that, but it has 9 zeros, so an extra 3 zeros. So now we're at 1 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0. Okay, so it's huge, right? But and that's like for lead. Whenever we talk about toxicity of having like bad effects, like birth defects and different things, we're talking about parts per billion. So 15 parts per billion. PFAS is a quadrillion, and I had to even Google that. A quadrillion has 15 zeros behind it. So you can think of it as one drop will contaminate 15 quadrillion drops of water.
Oh, okay. So that is something I can understand.
I can't even understand. I'm like trying to Google to figure out how I can even describe this. It's so crazy. So a way to think about this is like for parts per billion, like what we would say what lead is. So if you did one drop in a billion drop of water, then it would be contaminated with lead. One drop of PFAS into a quadrillion drop, which is a one with 15 zeros behind it, then that will be contaminated. So it's
That's
just like
terrifying.
yes, it's like we're
All it
seeing a
takes is one
little
drop.
bit of this stuff cause massive like movement in these like in water and in everything.
Yeah. I mean, just that statement alone is enough that should be enough to make us all want to change. You know what I
Yes.
mean?
Like we
We have to
it's
care about this.
I was like listening. I mean, granted, it was on Instagram, whatever, who knows, but they were talking about the history of like Teflon. And when they made Teflon, it, showed this great promise. And they, like instantly were realizing that it was a problem. They had done rat studies and these rats were like getting sick and stuff instantly, having all these issues, and they were also having horrible like birth defects and things. And so when they saw those rat studies come out, they immediately pulled all the women off the Teflon line. And I don't think anybody knew at the time like why they did that. But it was because they saw the writing on the wall. They knew what was going to happen, and it was going to cause this big uproar about it probably. But it's just so bad for us. So parts like super low levels, like I said, one drop in a quadrillion drop of water can lead to liver damage, thyroid disease, fertility issues, cancer. All that stuff has long lasting effects. This stuff is found like in so many things. It's crazy. Non-stick cookware for one. That's why we've talked about not using that anymore. But also like grease resistant food packaging, which like butter packaging, for instance.
So like parchment paper?
Parchment, yes.
That sucks.
There's actually this lady, this Facebook group called Mamavation, and she does routine testing on things for PFAS to figure out how much is in stuff. So like the other day you asked me like what kind of parchment paper I use, and I use If You Care because that's on her list. She'll give you like the worst offenders, like middle ground, and then like the best people that like don't really like have any and stuff. So
And If You Care was the best.
I think so. Yeah, I hope so. Maybe it could be different now. What else?
I believe I just ordered some because I need something.
Yeah, and they sell that at Whole Foods. So it's just in so much, unfortunately. So waterproof clothing like Scotch Guard is going to be PFAS. Anything that's waterproof is going to have that, like raincoats, like your dry wicking, like athletic materials, like Columbia, probably shirts, I would think, those waterproof ones. All that stuff, yoga pants, unfortunately.
Probably everything that is not cotton, 100%,
Yeah.
or 100% cotton, linen, wool, or silk.
Yeah, because it's in like just so many fabrics, and then a lot of it, like this revolution of kind of like athleisure that we're in, and I'm the biggest proponent of that. That's pretty much all I wear. That is like our probably number one thing that is bad for us.
Yeah, and that's nothing but synthetic materials. And that was a hard one for me because I had a membership, like a VIP membership with Fabletics, and I loved all my Fabletics leggings. I mean, they really look good, you know, like they make your
Yeah.
body look good, and I don't know, I like them. And I mean, come on, they're comfortable. We all want to wear them. But of course, like I was like, I got to get away from these, so I needed a better solution. So Pack does have, and I'm like other companies too. I'm just familiar with Pack, and they have leggings. They're not 100% cotton, but they are, I think, 95% cotton and 5% spandex, I believe, or elastin maybe.
Yeah.
But so that's way better, you know, and it's organic cotton.
Yeah,
So that's
nothing's going to be perfect.
yeah, and they're not, you know, they're not going to be that thick. It's not the good, nice
compression.
Compression, moisture wicking kind of synthetic fabric. But you know, you just have to try to like see the bigger picture here and understand that those things, as awesome and fun as they are not worth it. They're just not worth it. So it's important to try to make the changes where you can.
At least, like, even if you, like, okay, I have this stuff in my closet and I'm not willing to part with it yet, just stop buying it at least.
Yeah, that's what I've done, you know.
Yeah.
I haven't
Just
gotten
stop
rid of it all.
replenishing that stash. On your next thing that you have to replenish, that's the point where you say, okay, maybe let me look to see what else is out there, you know?
Yeah.
And then, you know, like Pact isn't cheap, but, you know, they have sales and stuff, and you can find them on ThredUp. There's a few things. So it's not like really out of, like, it's not crazy. I think I did buy some panties and they were pretty expensive, though.
I love ThredUp. And then also,
Oh, not
like,
ThredUp. I mean, Pact was expensive.
oh yeah, they're like $60 to $70. That's why I was like so excited to get that pack for like 30 from Quince. I think that's how you say it. I don't know. Am I saying that right?
I don't know.
But like another way, like just going thrifting and buying used clothes, like even if it's not organic cotton, at least it's probably, I don't know, sometimes it's full of fragrance and you can smell
That
it and
is
you can't get that
hard.
out.
Ugh.
But at least, I don't know, it's not, I look at it like it's been washed a bunch. I don't know. But at
Oh,
least you can,
God.
I try, but I'll go thrifting and I'll try to find things that are 100% cotton. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, that's better than buying brand new synthetic fiber clothes.
Absolutely, it is. And like I'm like 100% into thrifting. I hardly buy any of the girls' stuff brand new. So another, like, so we kind of talked about it before about panties and stuff like that, and this goes for bras too, with the PFAS and stuff in them. And then a lot of underwear are kind of moisture wicking too. Is, you know, a lot of, I know, like, I'm sure a lot of our listeners are probably female. I would think
They
that
are.
would, you know, that's our demographic. But please don't forget about your husband's boxers. Those are really contaminated. And then also your kids' panties, because, like, you know, you kind of get on this mindset of buying your kids like the cheapest possible thing because what does it matter? But that's like probably the worst. I mean, they're just growing up and they're, you know,
Yeah.
their bodies are developing, and we definitely don't want to put that on their developing private parts that are very sensitive, especially right now, you know, especially when we're talking about endocrine disruptors and all this stuff, and kids, like girls getting their periods way younger than they ever used to, like fertility being so bad. Like, we just have to try to set our kids up for success.
Yeah, like my daughter had so many issues, just constant irritation down there when she was little. I mean, she's still little, but younger. And that's when we were still using conventional laundry detergent and just whatever kind of panties. And like, since I've changed the laundry detergent and all cotton, she has no issues.
Oh, wow.
And I mean, it was like really irritating for her.
And like, I'm thinking about too, I just bought the girls all secondhand, but still like leotards for gymnastics, and those things are going to be all PFAS. Oh,
Yeah.
God, help me. Oh, it's like the more you know.
Yeah. I
Um,
mean, it all starts with petroleum too. That's what made all of these things possible, really.
I
Like all
know.
of these things we have, and they're all toxic.
So toxic. So, some of the worst offenders for PFAS, I mean, so for clothing, your worst offenders are probably going to be your, like, Amazon stuff that is just from another country, you know, like
Shein.
direct Shein, and those kind of fast fashion. I think Target maybe tries to be a little bit better,
I don't
with,
know. They're not that great.
no, I
I
heard
mean,
that they try, but
I found this week I went and I found a lot of things that were 100% cotton, but not a lot, but more than they had before. But other than that, they really maybe they might have had a few things that were naturally dyed. I can't remember if that was Target or an Old Navy, but other than that, they had just a lot of just synthetic stuff. They had a lot of stuff that looked like linen, but it was mostly half linen, half
Oh,
rayon.
yeah, there have a ton of synthetic fibers, but I did read that Target, it like in 2022, they made a goal to remove PFAS, or well, like polyfluorinated compounds, a subset of PFAS chemicals. So,
Mm,
I mean, at least it's on their mind.
yeah,
It's not like we don't care.
yeah.
Um, but there are other companies. Patagonia says that they're currently at 96% of their material is PFAS free, so that's good. But you know, a lot of big box stores still don't give any F's about this. So for shoes and stuff, the worst offenders are going to be Skechers, Under Armour, and Nike. They all have lots of PFAS in their shoes. And then some good brands like we talked about, Pact. Mate the Label is one I've been seeing lately. Patagonia, like I said, Everlane, shoes, Allbirds. I just bought some Allbirds on Poshmark because I think my feet grew. They like don't fit in my shoes, like they're rubbing. My Bergeron too is rubbing on my shoes, so I needed to get some new ones. And I was looking forever because I like don't want to buy. I don't want to spend like $100 for shoes.
Oh, well, speaking of that, that's what I was going to mention later is, so a lot of these like natural shoes or barefoot shoes or earthing, grounding shoes, because typically earthing, grounding shoes are going to be made of better materials, but either, or some, not always, but these shoes are typically better, but yes, they're very, very expensive. But I found a lot of groups on Facebook that are like really into these shoes and dedicated to like selling them secondhand for decent prices. I've bought a pair already, and I think it's pretty cool and a good way to get good shoes for
Yeah.
cheaper.
You should like invite me to some of those groups.
Yeah, I will.
So I got the Allbirds. Those are made out of wool, so that's decent. Upper material. Rothy's and Tom's are supposed to be some other ones that are decent about PFAS. I need some arch support honey. I don't know about grounding shoes for me.
Well, they say that that's really not good for you.
I
Like,
know, but tell
you're
that to
not
my.
meant to have your feet arched all the time. We were supposed to be walking bare feet
Oh my
on the
God.
earth. You know what I'm saying? Like that ultimately is probably causing you more pain than anything. I mean,
Oh God,
like
but tell
people
that to
think
my
that,
plantar fasciitis.
but it's probably like we were walking on hard floors, and it's some other cause than you needing arch support.
Oh God. Well, I'm gonna have to work on that. It's so
I
painful.
mean, ultimately, if you really need it, you need it. I mean,
Well, no, I mean, I'm sure it is, but like, I don't know how to fix it at this point is the problem. Probably like some kind of crazy stretching routine, I bet.
I mean, you'd have to go look into it because I haven't really looked into it because I don't deal with that issue, but I've read about it. That like how we were meant to be barefoot, walking on the flat ground. All in our shoes, or we're usually like wearing heels, or our shoes are like lifted up in the back, and we have the insoles that make us have these arches, and like think about it, none of that's natural.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, it's no better than like any of the other stuff we talk about.
And it causes back issues too.
No, I know. I just got PFAS. I was about to say I got PFAS. I got plantar fasciitis, like probably a little bit before I had the girls, like the year before I had them. For some reason, just like out of nowhere, my heels just like started hurting so freaking bad. But I know it is part of stretching. Like I think your tendon, like your Achilles, like up your calf, like gets really, really, really tight, and it doesn't like it. There's something to do with that like causes it to get like that. So I bet if I just like took the time and energy to like do what's best, then it'd probably be fine.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I'm sure you could find some good information if you like
Yeah.
looked into it.
All right, so the next thing we're going to talk about is freaking microplastics, dude.
It's the
Microplastics is
devil.
another thing that's like on a level with forever chemicals, because it's just like infiltrated every single thing, like insane. How
Yeah,
much?
so that was one thing I wanted to mention, that they were I was in preparation for this podcast, I was doing some research, and one of the articles had mentioned how a lot of the fibers from these clothes, we inhale them,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because, obviously, like, it doesn't just stay intact. Little pieces come off, we inhale them, and they find these microplastics and microfibers embedded in our lung tissue.
Yeah.
Once you have these little microparticles embedded in your lung tissue, that's not coming out. That's there forever. Okay? And like, they're finding that in dead bodies all the time, probably in all of our bodies. I'm
Yeah.
sure we all have that. It's in the food we
Oh,
eat
it's
as
in
well.
everything.
You
I
know,
mean,
the
think about it.
animals.
Go in the sunlight coming in through your door and like pat your pillow or
Yeah.
your couch cushion or anything for any possible fabric, and like you're gonna see all this like dust in the air, and like we're just breathing that in all the time. 100% of the time we're breathing this stuff in.
Yeah,
It's scary. It's really
it is.
scary. Um, so whenever we talk about microplastics, I mean, there's so many sources of microplastics, but for our discussion today, we're talking about in textiles. So we're talking about synthetic fibers, including polyester, recycled polyester, like anything recycled, unless it's like recycled cotton or whatever. Nylon, polyamide, acrylic, all that stuff is made from plastic or plastic, process. So these are released into the air, like we said, released into water during manufacturing, water during washing. So in the first 5 to 10 washes is the most amount of microplastics that's going to come out of our clothes, but it's going to continue to come out every single time we wash. We're going to be flushing more microplastics into our oceans and rivers
Yes.
and groundwater, like it's in everything.
Yeah.
Um, and so, like, another thing to think about when you're washing, and say, like, we're trying to start making moves into more, like, better materials. Well, if we're washing our nice, cute little packed, expensive cotton panties with our Target polyester skirt, then our stuff's getting full of microplastics anyway.
Yeah.
But man, that's hard because, in all honesty, like the washer has like everything has
Yeah. Well,
microplastics. So it's like I don't think I'm gonna start separating that. It's
at
too
this
much.
point, we're not escaping microplastics. No matter
Yeah.
what you do, you're not escaping it. But we have to look at the long road, right? Like, we have to start making change.
Yeah, like every little bit helps.
Yeah, like, if we're just like, oh, screw it, like, we're screwed either way, like, don't do anything, then, you know what I mean? Like, what are we doing? What are
Yeah.
we doing here? Like, why are you having children?
Yeah, really, because like it's just like
Like,
this perpetual.
yeah, like, we don't want, our children are inheriting this world from us. We need to do better. And if we all stand up and start voting with our dollars and doing better, these big companies, they're going to start providing what we want, and it'll be less waste. And I mean, it's already happening. They're already seeing what we're wanting, and they're making these changes. It's happening, but it needs to happen a lot more. But it just goes to show you how possible it is to make change.
Hmm.
Like, money speaks, so that's all they care about. So let's show them what we're going to spend our money on.
So a statistic is 35% of microplastics released into the oceans globally come from synthetic textiles. Dust in homes have been studied and contain 33% textile microplastics. These are inhaled and ingested. So microplastics in studies were not only found in the hearts and lungs of pregnant rats, but they were also found in the liver, lungs, kidneys, and brain of the fetus. So it's getting in the mother's bodies and going to the baby's organs, which is so crazy. It's just like, I question whether microplastics cross the blood-brain barrier, Like, people always talk about how that's like so bad if things cross that barrier, but like, dude, to get in the mom and get in the brains of, I mean, I guess it does, because if they're in the
Yeah,
brains, then wouldn't that mean that?
it seems like it. I mean,
It's
I guess we can't say
crazy.
for sure, but I mean, it definitely seems like it would.
It's so crazy to think about that. I don't know. That like blows my mind. So microplastics contain, like, why do we care? What's so bad about microplastics? Plastic never hurt nobody. Um, but plastic contains additives, monomers, catalysts, and reaction byproducts from the manufacturing of plastics. Microplastic exposure like can cause dermal irritation. Inhalation and ingestion causes oxidative stress, which is the imbalance of free radicals and antioxidants that damage our cells in our bodies. It causes DNA damage, organ dysfunction, metabolic disorders, how we turn our food into energy, immune responses, neurotoxicity, so bad for our brains, and things like probably Parkinson's and all these other neurodegenerative diseases, as well, of course, as reproductive and developmental toxicity. So it's just like everything, like it's just bad on every single account across the board.
It's basically just like bad food, like the bad food we eat. It can cause all of the ailments we deal with today. What do they call that? Neolithic diseases? Yeah, I don't know. But pretty much all of the new diseases we're dealing with today that weren't really a thing of the past, they're caused by the foods we eat. They could be caused by these microplastics. It's just all of what it boils down to is just the toxic world we're creating.
Yes. And, they're already doing epidemiological studies that are showing that they think that chronic diseases may be related to freaking microplastics. It's just,
they very well could be. I mean, I think it's really just a mixture of all of it.
All of it,
right? I mean, because we see things get better when we change our food, but maybe not all the way better because we're still dealing with all of these things. So the goal is to just get back to nature and natural things as much as possible. The problem is that we've gotten so comfortable with all of these luxuries and things that we have, and so many people, I would say most people, are not willing to give them up. They've got accustomed to this lifestyle, and they just don't see or understand the consequences of them enough to make that change, because it is a big change.
Oh, it's huge. And it's like, and it's, like on the wrong day can drive you crazy. It really can. Like I've gotten to my wits end sometimes with like my food stuff, just feeling like, God, I just can't have anything. I just want to go out to eat and be normal, but I'm also a different type of person that, like, sometimes with me, it's like all or nothing, So like I have a hard time like letting things go, but I try to not stress about it as much as I was before. But
well, there is no all or nothing here, because we can't be perfect with this. It's impossible. But
no, and it's so deep. I mean, it's like I'm looking at my curtains. I'm thinking about my couch. It's everything. Yeah, and honestly, it's not like you can go out and throw all this stuff away and start over again. It's just that you have to be constantly moving in the direction. Yeah. If you're going to buy a new couch, then research it first. And, I'm not saying go buy an expensive couch. Am I going to be doing that? No, I don't buy expensive stuff. But I'm going to go look and try to get the best thing I can for my budget. Right. And that's what it's about. Do the best you can for your budget when you buy the new thing.
And just be aware of what's going on. If we never educate ourselves and become aware of this, then, you're going to be wondering why you feel like crap all the time, first of all, and you don't, and then you're never going to make change. You're never going to understand why you need to make change or do anything about it.
Yeah, I mean, like, why am I going through menopause right now at 39? Why? Like, what is it?
Yeah.
Like, I've made all these changes, but there's still something out there that I'm not doing right.
Yeah, and that's the story for almost, not everyone, but almost everyone. I mean, I could think of almost everybody I know, they're dealing with something.
Yeah.
They're dealing with something that they're having a very hard time fixing. So, but people are getting better. Yes. Constantly,
There are people that get better.
Yeah, like they are all everywhere. So we're gonna have to live with these things, but we have to limit our exposure.
Yes,
we have to do better. Because our bodies are resilient.
Yes, like lungs can heal, like in livers too, all that stuff. And right, livers heal, don't they?
Everything heals.
Yeah, and our skin heals, all that stuff. It's like it will if you give it a chance to.
Yeah.
But if you keep inundating it with this bad thing, then like it's not going to have time, and over time that causes these major issues, these diseases and cancers and all that stuff.
Yeah,
and I just think
just overburdened.
yes, especially like our generation, like you and I, we have been eating bad stuff for almost our whole lives because like this huge food movement and stuff, all this toxic stuff came out when we were really young. So unfortunately, I think our generation is, we're seeing a lot more invasive cancers very early, a lot more like diseases, just so many things, like a lot more infertility and menopause, like all this stuff. It's
Behavioral disorders.
yes, all this stuff. It's like it's for a reason. It's because we've had too much and we have to change it, especially for our kids. Because God, if it's this bad and our kids just start out this life with all this stuff beating down their door, like they have like no chance of like normalcy, I feel like.
Yeah, and I mean, and they're just gonna keep producing this stuff more and more. It's gonna get worse and worse. So, yeah, like,
And
at
if
the very
people
least,
like
we need to
us,
stop it from getting worse.
and if people like us and all the other people who are fighting this good fight don't stand up and say, no, I'm not buying this crap anymore, then it's going to get even worse. That's what's
Yeah.
scary, is it can get worse than it is right now.
And then not to mention that, like, the humanity part of it, right? Like, with the fast fashion, we didn't even mention that, how it's full of sweatshops and stuff
Yeah.
in China with child labor pushing this stuff out because there's such a demand for it. So it's like every time you want to buy that new cute thing on Shein or whatever, well, you're making a bigger need for the child labor and sweatshops. I mean,
Yeah, and like people make such a big deal about how we're so reliant on China for stuff, for cheap stuff, right? But like, think about it. It's cheap for a reason. They're not paying their people. They're living in squalor. The kids are working. It's polluted. There's a reason it's cheap, and it's
Yes.
not a good reason. So like, we have to stop buying all this shit and like stop funding this stuff.
Yeah,
And
like,
then
there's
maybe
always a
America won't be
reason.
so reliant on China for all our cheap goods because
Yes, things are not just cheap because they're cheap. Like, there's always a bad reason why it's
and
cheap.
like, why is it okay for people in China to work like this, but we would never allow our family members to live like that, But we think it's okay for those people to do it. Why? Because they're Chinese? Like, that's
The
not
problem
cool.
is that they don't see it, right? It's not their kids. It's not in our country. They're not seeing it firsthand. So it's kind of like they can act like it's not real, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's easy for us Americans to pretend like this stuff isn't really going on, but it is.
Yeah.
And
And
that's
we're
where
causing it.
Yeah, like a lot of these countries are, have child labor or sweatshops or all these like bad industry related things because of our demands.
Yes.
It's crazy.
So crazy. All right. Anyway. Sorry. we got a little sparked. It happens sometimes. All right. So, we talked about safe fibers, cotton, linen, wool, and silk are our like top four. There are some other fibers out there that are supposed to be decent as well.
Well, you have to be careful because like they have alpaca and wool, or I think it's called, or something, but and other things. But when it comes to the manufacturing process and how they make it, it turns it into something that's toxic. So it's easier to just rely on those, I can't think of the word, foolproof, your old things, cotton, linen, wool, and silk, and just
Well,
like
and
the things
whenever
that we
you
know
do
are
an
safe.
animal products, you also have to be careful with like pesticides and stuff because they're going
Yeah.
to be spraying the wool and stuff like that.
Unless
so.
it's organic, though,
Yeah,
If you can get organic, then you should be safe. You never know, but
I mean, I'm sure some levels, again, little changes.
yeah.
So some other fibers that are supposed to be good is like bamboo, lyocell, hemp, soy. I think those are some other fabrics that are supposed to be good. So I would put those next to, in the list with cotton and stuff. But cotton also can be problematic. So like, conventional cotton
Yeah,
is GMO crops, processed with chemicals, bleached, all that stuff. The Organic Trade Association says that around 25% of the world's insecticides and 10% of the world's pesticides are sprayed on cotton.
Yeah, so just a side note, because this isn't necessarily related to clothes, but think about tampons, pads.
Oh my God.
Cotton balls that you put, or in cotton swabs for your ears, all of that. that you're rubbing right on your skin or putting straight in your vagina, you know, think about how that could cause reproductive problems.
Dude, well,
That's
they're
super
already
toxic.
coming out with like there's so many toxic stuff in tampons and
Oh
in
God,
like the
yeah.
cups, like and even in the period underwear with the PFAS. Like you have to be damn careful what you're putting in your body, you
Yeah.
know. And here I was just using Playtex my whole life.
I
Maybe that's
know.
why I'm maybe that's why I'm menopausal. Who knows, you know?
I know. You'll never know because there's so many things that could have caused that.
But it's just a shame. It's really a shame in our world that we have to be so freaking careful about every single thing, man.
That's why I say it's just best. Like, I know this is not popular because people just don't are not into living like me. Like where I have this mind. Not that I do this perfect. I'm just saying like I have the mindset just like live as naturally as possible. Is it? Ask yourself, is this natural? Does this occur in nature
Yeah.
naturally? You know, and if it doesn't, then it's probably no good.
And then also
Not
like
that we
live
can
with,
only live that way because we're so used to living. I'm just saying
you know,
the best you can, right?
and like live with less. Less
Yeah,
and
be
I feel like
simpler.
and I'm grappling with this. Less square footage. Live with less square footage. The more square footage you have, the more bad stuff you can fit in it.
Yeah.
And then if you're not putting bad stuff in it, then the more expensive all the good stuff is going to cost. Because like when we moved in this house, they had old carpet and it was nasty. And then I started researching carpet, and I'm glad I did because carpet's like really, really, really toxic. And like you want to talk about toxic fibers and stuff, go read about carpet and the underlayment that they use that's made out of like recycled electronics
That
waste and
looks
full of heavy
toxic, that
metals.
stuff.
And, yeah. So we bought wool carpet. Dude, that stuff was expensive. Like for like 3, 4 rooms, it was basically like 10 grand. And
Wow.
like carpet's cheap for a reason. So like it's no joke, man. But anyway, like you just got to be careful of everything.
Yeah.
Everything.
And you're right. Like living simpler is really like the best answer. You know, like as long as you're worried about like being super fashionable and having all the nice purses and
Oh
clothes and
yeah.
being super trendy and you know, or just having all these super just trendy luxurious or convenient things,
Yeah.
you're just gonna fall victim to it constantly. You have to. It's really a cultural change. We need a huge culture shift and getting back to what's really important in life, which
Hmm.
is family and health.
Connection and health. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, because like I mean, we're talking about moving maybe in the next 2 years or so, and I'm grappling with that too. Like, how big does my house need to be? Because it's like so easy to be like, well, I need a room for this, and I need a room like
yeah.
I need this, and but then it's like, do you really need that? And
I
like
know.
maybe you can make it work with way less than what you think.
Look, when Nick and I were just getting it together, right after Petal was born, we all were living in one room. And we were happy. We were fine. You know, Bentley still remembers that place and wants to move back there. He's like, that was such a good time because you know why? We were home most of the time and it
Yeah.
was just simple and we didn't even have money. Like we were so broke. But we were happy. You know, it
Yeah.
doesn't take a lot. And Nick went the other day. Now, of course, we've gathered more things and success in life. And he's like, I was talking about how we want to like maybe just live in a camper or whatever, or a small house. And he was like, well, the kids are going to be teenagers soon, and they're going to need their own space. And I'm like, they don't need that. You know what I mean? Like in history, people never really had that.
Hmm.
You know, like we don't need that.
Yeah, and like
Really, we don't even truly have to have rooms if we really think about it. But I'm not saying don't do that. I'm just saying we don't need most of the shit we think we need.
yeah, I want to keep the girls together. I would love for them to stay in the same room forever. Mike and I talked about like him and his brothers and how, you know, like they were each like a year apart and he's the middle. And they like really, really, really started fighting and weren't as close anymore when they all got their own rooms.
Oh,
You know?
really?
It just like, it seems like it caused, like, you know, from the perception, like from us talking, like maybe it could have been related in some way to that separation. You know, you get your own room, your own space. You're not
Yeah.
cool. Like, you can't hang with me. You're my little brother or whatever.
Yeah.
And so I really think that I want them to stay together. I mean, I want them to be individuals, but I want them to have each other. It's all about connection, you know?
It is.
And like one day they'll be grown up and they probably won't, they're not going to be living together anymore, probably. I mean, maybe we can all live together. That's like my
Maybe like
dream.
that. You ever saw that couple that's like two twin girls married the same twin brothers, and then they both had a baby at the same time, and they all live in the same house, and then like technically
That's
their
like
babies are
weird.
siblings because the genetics or
That's
something.
like
I don't know.
crazy. It
Yeah,
almost
it was
seems like
really weird.
sister wifey kind of vibes.
Yeah, it's strange.
So maybe not that, but some other level in between. So yes, we definitely want to be careful with all cotton products that we place in our body, on our body. We want to be careful when we're buying furniture, doing carpet, big renovations. I would suggest like looking into stuff before you buy stuff, just to make sure you don't like have any regrets later. But bags, I mean, shoes, there's so many things to just have in your mind. Like I said, don't throw it away, just try to do better when you can. So another big one that you have to be careful with is flame retardants. That's another way that they're trying to poison us. And I get it. Back in the day, I like read some stuff of like why they started doing this, because like kids were wearing like in like the winter, like up north and stuff, I guess, wearing like fleecy, thick, like fluffy pajamas and stuff. And they had fires to keep warm, and it was a really big problem that these people would, like, kids would set themselves on fire, and that stuff would go up like that. They'd be like in flames, and either like they would die or be seriously injured. So the government or whoever got involved and was like, we can't have this happen anymore. So then they started putting flame retardants in like all kids' pajamas, basically.
I didn't
And
know that.
yeah, and back in the day, the flame retardants that they used to use were like really messed up stuff, and they caused major, major, major issues. So they've had several chemicals from the get-go that they've, banned, and then made new ones, and banned and made new ones and stuff like that. So,
The the only thing I knew of flame retardants is like FRCs that you have to wear for work, like
yeah,
men
maybe
have to
that's
wear.
why I'm menopausal. For those 5 years, I wore FRCs.
Yeah, I know. Like Nick has to wear those. I said men, but yeah, women wear that too. I'm just so used to what in regards to what Nick does. But
Yeah.
but yeah, like he's forced to wear that. So yeah, a lot of people have to wear that for their jobs. So that
Yeah.
sucks. But like we said, maybe you can wear like organic cotton under
Yes.
clothes.
Yeah, I mean, I wore FRCs for 5+ years when I worked in that industry. I didn't think anything of it at the time. Now I would die. Um, but so luckily they kind of backed off of kids' pajamas and stuff. You will still find it in a lot of pajamas, especially like the synthetics,
those
like
cheap
fluffy
ones.
stuff. Like the fleece ones are really bad. I think maybe the fleece ones still have to have that possibly, because I do notice in the fleece that it's like, I almost always see it. But they kind of backed off. If it's like tight fitting, then they don't have to put flame retardants in anymore.
Does it say flame retardant on
It does.
the
On the
tag?
tag, like your tag back here, it's
Yeah.
going to say on there flame retardant on
Okay.
it. Yes. So you can go and look at your kids' pajamas and see. And then any other like fleecy kind of synthetic stuff that you have might possibly have that. But flame retardants are still used in lots of things like clothing, furniture, electronics, building materials can have flame retardants in it. Especially like couches pre-early 2000s have flame retardants in it. So if you like have a really old couch, you might have flame retardants in it, and it's just like constantly, like fibers in the air kind of thing. So we inhale it through dust particles, ingest it that way, skin contact, we absorb it in the clothing we wear. It's linked to neurological damage, hormone disruption, and cancer. Firefighters actually have a lot of prolonged exposure to these chemicals because, these things are on fire and they're breathing it in. And they actually have determined that the cancer from this is the leading cause of fatalities in firefighters, which is crazy. So yeah, firefighters are actually, there's some studies that show that potentially the flame retardants are what's caused for all the cancer rates. That's not even just like the act of firefighting causing all these fatalities, but this flame retardant material. So in 2016, they did I can post like where I found this. They did a study and they found that almost every single person they tested, including newborns, had this like flame retardant that was banned in the early 2000s, like in their body.
Wow. Wow.
So it's another one. It's just like almost like forever chemicals. Again, forever chemicals, PFAS, microplastics, flame retardants. They're all like almost similar in a way.
Wow.
Scary. So, exposure to flame retardants cause kids to have lower motor skills, cognition issues, things like that. So, definitely, if you can not be around flame retardants, you definitely don't want to. You don't want your kids to be wearing flame retardant clothing. Just don't buy that like, don't put them in fleece, you know?
Yeah.
And don't let them
just
go
be
near
safe.
fire. Yeah, like, it's not the way it used to be for most people that were having like fires to keep warm these days, you know?
Well, I mean, it's just we go to such extremes to prevent things. Like, use common sense.
Yeah.
Don't get close to the fire. You know?
Yeah, like if you're out roasting marshmallows, don't tell your kids to go put on their cute reindeer pajamas that are fluffy, you know?
It's just, I mean, we don't have to go start spraying toxic chemicals in our stuff because we can't use common sense anymore. It's just crazy.
So something that you might see a lot is GOTS and OECO-TEX. So GOTS stands for Global Organic Textile Standard. It's the world's leading textile processing standard. So it has some high-level environmental criteria for the supply chain. It requires the textiles to contain 70% certified organic natural fibers, verify their chemical safety. So they ensure that the product is organic, eco-friendly, and ethically produced. So the bad thing is we have these things, but like if you go on Amazon, like so many of these people say this and I just like don't, like they're just saying it, like they don't actually have this. So you have to be careful. I think there might be like some numbers, like a registration. You have to like double check on some stuff. Like it's just crazy.
I don't have much faith in these things.
Yeah.
It's just like the FDA to me.
Yeah. True.
It's ultimately a lot of these things can be bought or paid off. You know, or there's very often, almost always loopholes that they can get around. Like these industries or these companies, they always find a loophole, and so it's just you just have to use, you know, like educate yourself and do the best you can.
Yeah, but if you're like looking on Amazon and you're looking for like natural cotton sheets or something, and it's like some super cheap stuff, and it says it has this, like, you know, it probably is not. You know, just. Yeah. Use your judgment on that stuff. But some companies, you know, say this and they actually do all the good things. So OECO-TEX is kind of like that, but it also goes into like substances that are bad and looks at the azio dyes and formaldehyde, cadmium, nickel, like metals like lead and stuff like that. Because there's also a lot of heavy metals in our clothing, like those Shein and like kids like Justice brand and like Claire's stuff. That kind of stuff too, you have to be careful with, because that stuff is loaded with these forever chemicals too, and also heavy metals. Like there was like Claire stuff, you know, like the kids like little play like tiaras and junk, like having tons of lead in them, and like the makeups and the Justice clothes having a ton of lead in them. So there's just a lot of bad stuff out there, and a lot of stuff that's geared towards our kids because it's just cute. And it's hard to explain to my 4-year-old we can't get that because it's got chemicals, but, you know,
they start
it
to
does.
get used to it, honestly, though. I mean, if you stay persistent, like trying to transform your family, especially if you haven't even started this yet, it can seem like such a daunting and overwhelming task, like, or impossible. But, I mean, every family is different, but for me, I just did it. It wasn't an option.
Yeah.
I mean, unless you're going to go buy your own food and you're going to go cook it and you're going to go buy your clothes, you know. And I'm talking about for my husband, too, because he wasn't about to go grocery shopping and cook and do all that stuff. He had to rely on me to do it. So it was going to be what I was going to do. Now, of course, I wasn't like a complete dictator. You know, I met them halfway. But, like, your kids, like, my kids are so used to this by now. Like, they don't really care. You know?
I know. Mine either. They get it. But, like, I'll just say it has bad chemicals, and usually they'll be like, okay.
Yeah. Or they might be bummed for a bit, but
they get over it. They get on to the next thing.
Yeah.
But, yeah, like, all this, like, cutesy little like hair stuff from TJ Maxx and stuff. And TJ Maxx and stuff's actually pretty good. At least they'll have the Prop 65 warnings on it, which I know it's like a lot of controversy with Prop 65. A lot of people don't like it, or it's not enough or whatever, but at least it kind of gives you an idea. And like they'll say if they have phthalates and PFAS and stuff like that on stuff there, I've noticed. So that's good.
Yeah.
So shoes are another thing, another one we kind of talked about a little bit, but you know, a lot of shoes are made either from synthetic materials or leather, and like we all like place a higher trust in leather, right? I mean, you're into leather, but leather processing, it can be highly toxic.
Yeah.
It's like really bad. We put it right up on our skin when we wear it. Leather pants getting all hot.
Well, let me break it down a little bit. So you have chrome tan leather, and then you have veg tan leather. Veg tan leather is vegetable tan leather, and it's tanned naturally. And then chromium is the short, they call it chrome tan, is dyed with chemicals. And it's not only, just like everything else, like the AZO dyes, it's done in these other countries, and it's these dyes and chemicals are released in the water, polluting the waters, and it's toxic, and it same as all the other stuff on our skin, bad for us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
but that's what makes that leather that you see on everything in the store, in your Michael Kors purses, and your all of those nice fancy purses. That's like the cheapest leather ever. I mean, I guess like if you're talking
some
like
of
really
them are
expensive
good.
purses, probably do have. But like I'm talking about like the ones that
Like
a lot of
your
middle class people
like
use.
Coach,
Yeah.
Kate Spade, probably. I mean, I don't
Yeah.
know. I'm just.
Well, I can tell by looking at them. Most of those are that cheap, funky leather. If it's like really pliable and like a really, most often if it's like a really bright color, it almost kind of looks fake.
Yeah.
It's probably chromium tan. I mean, most of the time, anything that's the really good leather is probably gonna be really expensive as well.
Yeah, so your cheap stuff is probably all like bad. I mean,
Yeah.
all the cheap stuff, there's cheap for a reason, just like we always say.
Yeah.
But yeah, that chromium stuff, I mean, yeah, like chromium is the fourth worst toxic pollutant in the world.
Wow.
Human carcinogen. They also contain other heavy metals like arsenic, lead, and mercury, formaldehyde, dyes, bactericides, fungicides. So all that stuff is used during tanning, preservation, and dyeing. So it's just like can be nasty if you don't, again, just another thing for you to think about. And then we have our other synthetic stuff, our PVC, PUs, EVAs, TPUs are all these other kind of stuff, like most of our like flip-floppy kind of materials. And those are just petroleum-based byproducts,
Yeah. And
so they contain lots of bad stuff too.
And I forgot, like, pretty much all of our shoes are made with the chromium tan leather. You can tell just looking at it. Like, I can tell just looking at it. If it's made with real leather, like, you're going to be able to, like, the good leather, you can tell. Like, I'd have to show a picture comparing, but, like, most of the shoes that people are wearing today are made with the shitty leather.
Yeah, and then your feet are, like, sweating in your shoes and absorbing. So, it's just crazy. Yeah. So, I mean, they do make good shoes.
Yeah,
but
out of the good leather, you can definitely find them, yeah. You can find shoes made of, like, really good materials. And so, in regards to, like, earthing and grounding, we're wearing all of these shoes with the arch support and the synthetic materials, and we're out of contact with the earth, right? Yeah. And we were always we were always meant to be barefoot on the earth, experiencing the Earth's electrical charge or electrical pulse. That plays a crucial role in our circadian rhythm, our hormonal balances, and communicating with our body, telling our bodies what to do, and just keeping us in good health. And we're in our houses all the time. As soon as we walk out, so we're not in contact with the earth. And then as soon as we walk outside, we have shoes on, and we have shoes on that don't allow that electrical current to pass through. Mm-hmm. So if we were wearing real leather shoes, like with a real leather sole, then we could still get the benefits of earthing. Or they have these copper rivets that you can buy shoes that have them in the sole. Mm-hmm. So you don't necessarily have to have shoes with a leather bottom, because if you look up the earthing shoes, they look different. You're not gonna be like super trendy and styling. But I like them and I want a pair.
I
But
have to like go look at this and see what this looks like.
yeah, like watch. Look up.
They don't look bad.
I don't. No, they don't. But you know what I'm talking about. Like people like their Jordans and their Nikes,
True.
and you're not. You're not gonna get that with earthing shoes. So they do also have those copper rivets that you can add to your shoes, which will allow you to get the electrical currents pass through. But that's like a whole other topic to really get into earthing and grounding. But I wanted to bring that up because it is super important. And when we're in contact with the earth and we are allowing that electrical pulse through, that really lowers inflammation in our bodies. And like I said, the circadian rhythm and the hormonal balance, as well as the sun. Like we're just so out of touch with nature. And that is another thing that stops our body from healing, as well as being overburdened with all of these toxic chemicals. So we're just getting further and further away from what we're meant to be in, and how we're supposed to live. And as well as frequencies. So that's another important factor for the woo-woo folks, because I know not a lot of people are like, oh, that's hippie bullshit. I mean, whatever, different strokes for different folks, but I highly believe in all of this stuff. I think it's really important, and frequencies are also important. We're all vibrational creatures, and synthetic fibers like polyester and nylon have low frequencies that disrupt your natural energy flow, and natural fibers like linen, organic cotton, and silk offer high vibrational frequencies that enhance energy, clarity, and health. So that's just another reason that you would want to wear natural fibers.
Yeah, because like every being on this earth, everything is putting off energy, in some way. You
Everything.
Can't see it, but it's there. And so we're constantly receiving energy at the same time as transmitting it.
And it's just multiple ways to seek health. And there's so many natural avenues that you can start reintroducing into your life to get a holistic approach and to get back to health. You know what I'm saying? Just have to get back to nature.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm really into that. I'm really into like vibes and stuff. I mean, like energy from people too, like you can pick up other people's energy by being around them. If that like makes you feel like a little bit more connected to the topic that we're talking about.
Yeah, like
you can probably relate
feel
to
someone
that.
behind you, right? Like if someone's in the room behind you, you can feel them, right? That's energy. And that's kind of, if you don't believe in that, that's proof that it exists, Like everything is energy and vibration.
And also, like, if someone has bad energy, like, you can usually feel that, too. You get a sense, like, you kind of have a feeling about someone if they're, like, a really bad person or, maybe not, like, murderer or whatever, but...
or if their intentions are bad,
Yeah, sometimes you can feel
that.
those things. Or, feel people's pain and grief and things like that, too. So, multiple ways to feel and to receive and to give off energy, so... Clothing can also block that or let it in. So we kind of talked about a lot of stuff, a lot of things to think about, a lot of different chemical problems in our clothing and other products. But, I think the biggest thing, like we said, is to try to consume less. That's like really where our big, easier things are going to be. And it's not going to cost you any money to consume less. You're going to save money doing that. Try to downgrade your stuff, maybe not downgrade, but, get rid of what you don't need, because all this stuff has some energy or some fiber or whatever that we're introducing into our bodies.
Or look into capsule wardrobes. That's basically where every piece of clothing you have can go together,
Yeah.
And it's like you have staple pieces. Like it's a wardrobe consisting of only staple pieces, and you might I don't know, like I'm not exactly sure like the definition, but it might be like 10 or 15 pieces, and that's it, but it's quality pieces that all go together.
Yes. And if you look at your clothes and you might realize like, oh my God, I'm wearing like synthetic bad stuff every single day for every single outfit. Like,
You probably are, because I certainly was.
I know, and it's like it's concerning. I mean, like with my athletic wear, like I wonder what the statistics are for women who wear athletic wear almost 100% of the time, like in their fertility. I don't know. Like it's just interesting. Like, does that have an impact? I
Well,
bet.
I mean, think about it. So many women are dealing with infertility today, and so many women wear it. That's like very, very common. But I mean, there's just so many factors with that could be causing that, but that certainly could be one, I'm sure.
So I'm gonna go in my underwear drawer and get rid of all my polyester panties that I've been holding on to. You know those like nice ones that like like the no seam lines. You know they're really thin.
Oh, I don't. I always wanted some of those, but yeah, the seamless.
Yes, I like love those. They're gonna have to
Yeah.
go. But you know, I've been really into thrifting. Like, there's this whole thrift culture. I get like tons of reels on my phone about thrifting finds and stuff. I like love the thrill of a thrift. I don't love like sifting through like too much stuff. I have like a low attention span for it, but sometimes I find stuff and I'm like, ooh.
Yeah, thrifting is really like I was never really into it before, but I find a lot of people are like into it now, especially with the economy the way it is and inflation and everything. So it's more affordable, and that is just another way to find better clothes. You
And a
can
lot
get
of
them for
people do it
cheaper.
as like a side hustle or even some like regular hustles, like because they'll find stuff that's marked way down and they can sell them on like Poshmark and stuff for
Yeah.
way higher, you know. So there's this whole culture of that too, of like getting these finds. But I like don't love going into a thrift store. I don't think I have like a lot of good options, but you know what's gonna be, you know how I like my travel itineraries always like to do farmers markets and stuff. Well, another one is gonna be the thrift. So like we went to Charleston and I like missed a big opportunity to go thrift in Charleston because I bet there's like all kind of cute synthetic fiber clothes now. I'm sure there's all these like cute clothes over there because they just like have the cutest little like pastel style. You know, it's my jam.
Yeah, we went to well, it was Harrison in Arkansas, and I hit up a few thrift stores while I was out there, and I actually racked up on like 5 cute 100% cotton sweaters.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so I was
Yeah, so
happy about that.
instead of spending your money at like some like nasty tourist like sweatshop, like why don't you go hit up a thrift store and see if you can find something cool that like, you know, in another place that like could be a cooler than like just going to a regular store, you know?
Yeah.
Something to think about.
Yeah, and get away for like try to get away from the trends and all of that, and try to just focus on what's important. You
Yeah,
know.
like you like trying to live with less and focus more on like connection and things like that. Like it's hard. I mean, I'm so guilty of it.
Well, I think about it like this. Like, think about you get really sick and they tell you you have a few months left to live. Do you think that you're going to wish you did more of this stuff? Like, oh, I wish I would have got more fashionable clothing and all of these, like,
It's like ridiculous.
all of this stuff, all of these little gadgets and gizmos and
Oh, but I
no.
never got to have like an 85-inch TV.
Yeah.
Man.
Like, you're not going to care about all of that. And I mean, if you ask anybody who's like the people they ask on their deathbed what they wish they would have done differently, it's never any of that crap or that they would have worked more or had nicer things or any of
Yeah.
that. It's about relationships and good health, typically,
Yep. Exactly.
So,
So yeah, thread up packed Facebook groups. I buy all the girls stuff secondhand. Of course, that's kind of complicated because I buy them off Facebook groups and I don't know what the fabric is, but I don't know. I mean, it's a work in progress.
but they,
yes.
like I said, they have the Facebook groups that focus on natural
Focus.
fibers.
Yeah, you have to invite me to those, okay?
Yeah, just and
Homework.
like for those listening, just go when you're go in the groups and just search natural fiber group. Just put in natural fibers, and I'm sure a lot of them are going to pop up. There's probably going to be some just for kids, women, and whatever.
Yeah.
It's a great start.
Yep. So I feel like we covered a lot today. I'm glad you guys are with us still on this journey, adding more stops on the journey. But, we talk about this stuff because we're hoping that you'll improve your health and be able to spend more time with your kids and your families and get that wish of having that time back. because the stuff's all just making us sick, man. Whether we want to acknowledge it or not, it's right there looking at us and saying, how long are you going to let this go?
Right. And we really just, I really, really want to shift culture, our culture. Our culture really
Yes.
needs to be shifted in a different direction. And I think that's like the ultimate goal of this.
Yeah, so let's go out and be examples for our families and shift. We'll be the culture shifters.
Yeah.
All right, guys, thank you so much for tuning in today. We appreciate your time. Would love to interact with you guys on Facebook, on YouTube. Send us a message, like, subscribe, and let's change this culture, man. Let's do it.
Bye, guys.
Bye.